Hey, good to see you.
Hey man, thanks for taking the call.
Yeah,
I got the message. I appreciate the opportunity. You guys are like throwing some pretty decent, incentives out there, like little like commission. Um, you know, uh there's opportunity. I can make some money, like referring to the right people.
yeah,
But really that's not, I don't really find myself in scenarios where I am talking and it makes sense to pitch, a product like that. I also don't really feel comfortable doing it. But I had an idea and hear me out. Like,
sure.
because I know some people that probably could be, you know, maybe get some value out of what you guys are doing over there.
hmm
Um, but uh, like, what if we did what if we collaborated on a webinar or like maybe some content online, and then you'll get exposed to those people, and I can build a little bit of my brand at the same time. And I don't know, have you guys done anything like that before?
I think marketing has done some webinars in the past. Uh, they were doing them a lot, during COVID and stuff. Um, so yeah, I think the I can definitely run it past them. Like they have a pretty between you and me, everybody's got their like metrics and stuff. So they have a my understanding is they kind of have like a pretty rigid like ROI and like what kind of like reach. I hear them talking about reach of campaigns and stuff a lot. So I think I would need to, you know, run the idea by them and kind of see what we might, what might make sense if they, if they like that or if it kind of fits with their campaigns. And I also don't know how far ahead they're working on stuff.
Okay. Because I know
Um,
like this is a pretty hot topic in the places, I'm seeing a lot of people post online. And I know it's a little unorthodox, but I think that also means there's probably opportunity. And I feel like we've got a good relationship here. Like I could
yeah,
even, put a webinar together from my side and like be as ready like as early as next week. Maybe not a traditional webinar, but like just people are doing more videos now, and like
sure.
I want to do whatever I can, to share this message for you guys.
Right.
And I'd hate to like, see that like not happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll check with them right away. I mean, something that I think might, that's like a little, like lower stakes because it's lower effort is like we might be able to do, and this has to go through marketing, it's like not really my, area, but like I do know we do like blog posts on customer stuff more frequently, and like I can submit that, I can submit that form as soon as we get off the call, to get like a blog post in the pipeline, and those are usually like 2 weeks, so that is definitely something that can happen sooner. But I'll get with, I'll Slack the director of marketing, and run that idea, throw that idea over the wall, and kind of see what we can.
All right, man. Well, you know where to find me, and hopefully you can put something together. Just want to let you know, like, see, I'm not gonna like do the incentives thing. Like, I'll just throw somebody your way if they come up, and like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I
But
get that.
yeah, and
Okay.
scene. Uh,
Yeah.
and like, but to provide commentary, what is likely to happen when you reach out via Slack
Yeah.
to
Hey,
do the marketing?
at director of marketing, I've got a customer who is excited about topic and pitched us on a webinar, uh, and kind of wanted to do it sooner rather than later, thoughts. And A, they will probably ignore it. Or B, um, second most, I think, is like, oh, we did webinars and they don't really work. Or C is like, yeah, we can try to see something like that. You know, we would want to hit like a certain like registration threshold or whatever. Here's a content template that we use to like start the process. And then I'm going to be like, I don't even know what to do with this. And so what happens is nothing.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we have somebody who's in champion stage and we
Yes.
can't figure out how to leverage and support that outside of some kind of failed incentive structure that
Yes.
is like, we'll pay you to do that. But you still have to go through all these hoops to do it in this specific way to get paid. And then hopefully hopefully they accept cookies so we can see that they
Right.
actually came in through your code.
Right.
Um, just like
Or
all these things. And
if,
like that third thing that you mentioned about metrics,
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
who is it? What's their audience size? Like what kind
yes,
of numbers? Meanwhile, it is like the lowest lift, maybe highest impact marketing activity that anybody can engage in that moment,
yeah,
right?
yeah. The, the, uh, uh, last week I said at the end of our show, like that the, in the activation and enabling of champions, the things that everybody likes to do because they're easy. You have a high degree of control over the output, and they are easy to measure. And the things that cultivate genuine value, actually develop the relationship in meaningful ways, you have a high degree of control over the inputs only, and they are hard to measure, right? And this points right at that conundrum. Um, the our little skit there though highlights like, look, the more control you need to have, like Princess Leia says to Grand Moff Tarkin, like the more you tighten your grip, the more these opportunities are going to slip through your fingers, right? Like you can't, you know, if it's like, well, we need this template so that we can plan the webinar, or like we submit a form for an idea for a blog request and then that gets triaged. That's all, you know, put in place with a good goal. Manage the team's workload. Centralize the places. You know, the tennis balls that get thrown at the content team from every different area. They can't be like Slack, SMS, email. You know, in the hallway, whatever. These content ideas, and we want to make sure somebody's that we're not in a scenario where it's like, oh, company X who's a customer wants a blog post for SEO, right? And so it's just like low quality, you know, blog post on our site that links to them, and doesn't provide any value. Those are all, it's not bad to want to have those things in place, but they restrict, they create a tighter aperture for the value to actually flow, right? So like more value flows freely, even with freer or with fewer opportunities. If we go on the green flag side of the spectrum here, where we have less control, and they're harder to measure, right? This right hand side, right? If we are doing, and we can talk about these things in a little more like where the rubber meets the road language, but like building community, messy, lots of inputs, definitely hard to manage. What if somebody comes in? What if a competitor comes in? Right, is always something that the company says. Um, but you know, that's a good example of like there's this abstract idea of like, oh, we don't want followers, we want to build a community. And before the real AI craze, that was That was the fad we had before, like, oh, build your community first. And before that, it was what's your narrative, right?
Yeah.
Storytelling.
Community-led
Um,
growth.
right. Yes, community-led growth. Um, so like the uh, the like top, I think the top, like enabling your champions, equipping them, empowering them, boosting them is like, look, if you want a really great champion for your brand, you or 100 or 1,000 or 100,000, you have to recognize that they aren't your employees who are, fulfilling punch lists of activities that have a tight process, documented ROI, roll up to a metric on the board, um, presentation, 42, champion source activations or whatever, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't measure, but like be realistic about what value is measurable.
Right. And like, again, this has been a journey, like for this reason, where if you start catching the kind of excitement that I was expressing, the kind of passion about how valuable this thing is and that I want to help other people, that often starts appearing way earlier in the process.
Yes.
And if you can start to put that in front of marketing and in front of the leadership team, and like you can develop a marketing plan that knows this is coming and sets up for like, all right, here's the schedule of activities. We don't know exactly what or who's going to be talking about it, but we're so good at this game. We know somebody will.
Right.
And now since it's an intentional strategy, it's so much easier to to feel like you can ask because you're bringing people into like, oh, I'm not the only one doing this. Oh, it's not just about money or transactions or last minute like quarterly um pushes to get
Right.
business, which we all see coming from a mile
Oh,
away.
yes.
And it's, I think, something I dug into last weekend is this chicken and egg between um, like kind of realizing the value, understanding the value, and the visibility like of it, right? In that it's hard to make it visible until you understand what you need to look for.
Right. That's a big
And
point.
and that's why when we find KPIs that's like, oh, look at that, that's a conversion. That's a good thing, right? We're going to start tracking that. So now the goal becomes conversions. Whereas if the goal is intonation and excitement on the call, like all of a sudden we can we can point resources towards making that happen to the point where it doesn't have to get lost in translation. So when Oak sends the Slack message, right? AI has made it easier to say, "Hey, look at this clip from Chris." I don't even know. Like we've never done anything like this before, but feels like a pretty good opportunity.
Right.
Like take a listen. It's like 10 seconds. So much different than, hey, we got this customer that maybe we could do a webinar or something,
Right.
right? Like again, so even on your side, like all of this has been about like how do we enable like buyers,
Right.
but so much of it is also like developing a value path strategy puts in the scenario Oaks in a better position to communicate with the rest of the team. Like, hey, we've got this person in like real champion mode. Like how do we help? How do we leverage this? How do we make more of them?
Yeah.
Right? All these things.
Yeah. Um, and I think, uh, d- there's always so much to go from or to touch on when you
after I tell.
unpack these things like that. But the yeah, like the something that is like quizzical to me is there are people who are natively good at. Oh, I see that Chris is excited. I think like if we were to do something here, it would be mutually beneficial, but also like, yeah, I really want to do something for him in this scenario, and I know that there's like a mutual alignment, and we'll just we'll figure it out. And if it doesn't work out, fine, whatever, and you will go off on that rabbit trail and try to figure something out. The the roles that see that the most often are usually the ones that aren't trained or equipped and often like don't kind of attract people with that like native skill set or disposition, right? It's like support. It's like frontline, right? It's to some degree like success and account management, opportunities. And some of those folks, they end up in senior roles usually, escalating through the ranks. But it's like, look, my job is to process tickets fast, or to make sure everybody gets a response, or to make sure this project hits on time. And it's like, oh, you're excited? Whew, that's great, because I know if I send you something, you'll do it. Sales is kind of the role, especially in high touch sales, that attracts people who know how to do this. Oh, we've got some, they're really excited. That means like we've got a good opportunity here, but it also means we can use that excitement to champion this, using the other usage. But what can I do to equip this person to have these conversations internally? They're excited and they're ready to go, right? And we create these rigid structures because we're like, we have to operationalize creating champions, like you said, right? And like, okay, well, what systems can we bring in? Not, well, what opportunities did we see to create champions? What worked and what didn't work because we screwed it up because we had, last quarter we had 20 super excited people that we just implemented with. And we were like, well, thanks. Can you leave a rating?
Yeah.
And not
Oh,
like, hey,
can you?
what can we do for you, right? And we can
Right.
talk about some of those what we can do for you things in a second. Go ahead.
Like, like. Oh, great. Glad you're excited. Like, could you please just fill out this quick
Right.
survey?
Can you
Um,
please fill out my evaluation for my boss because
like
they keep
one to
asking for it?
five, like a
Yes.
bunch of 1 to 5 answers that totally like, or MPS scores. Like, then again, it doesn't like have to, you have to pick one or the other, and you usually shouldn't, right? But they serve so like the different purpose of taking me from like fully engaged mode to asking me to score it,
Right.
right? It's I cannot add all the context. And even when we know that we need it, and again, this is what's different with AI. Like most of those approaches were developed for a world where there's not going to be a bunch of humans available to read open text, like long answers, like, how did you hear about us? Right.
Right.
So that's why we tried to standardize and normalize everything and score it because we just didn't have the capacity.
Or
Right.
we didn't have the capacity to constantly be taking pulse checks of the relationship, right? Like we have to send an MPS periodically because we need visibility into big picture. How are we doing? What we can do now is I've built a product that does this for clients, like extracts that data from each call, right? And is like, how well did we execute? What is the sentiment coming out of this call? Um, and uh, and then you just look at the map. Like this sentiment and ranking is going down over the meetings for this customer. It's going up for this other one, right? And then you can drill down. Before it was like the dark side of the moon. The ship goes behind it, and then you wait until they fill out the NPS, and you're like, 5? oh no, right? And it's been, you know, 5 months or something.
Right.
Um,
And
yeah,
you all
those
of a sudden you have urgency that the
right,
person who filled out the 5 doesn't have.
and
And
they're already checked out. Yeah,
right.
um,
And the thing is, like, this is not even brand new approaches. Like, this is the Fortune 100, the Fortune 500, the biggest company. Like, this is how you do it. And they have
yeah,
put resources behind it to have the focus groups, to get people to say what's on their mind and then capture it in a meaningful way, draw insights, and then take action on it. Right. So it's again this digital world that popped up with SaaS that made you think that we could shortcut all of it. Just in most cases turned out to like just push decisions in the wrong direction so that we could make the metrics
right,
like work,
right,
right? And so now the best thing you can do is take a step back and like find those experiences for yourself where either somebody is telling you about a product they love or an experience they love, or you ask yourself, like, hey, what would I say? Like, what's my favorite thing on the desk
mm,
right now? And if somebody asked me how I felt about it, like, what would I say? And do we have any mechanism in place anywhere to allow for somebody to tell us that,
right.
right? And if they're gonna online, which they might, do we have any listening mechanisms in place? Like, do we have anybody ready to go do that? Then if we see it, what how are we going to engage them? It can't be, hey, fill out this form, get a free gift card. Like it's like it's it's such a like if we pull this back up, and this is again, it's the hard part until
Yeah,
it's not, right? Where you've built up the whole journey going from audience to champion with
yeah,
this in mind. Like
right.
all of a sudden, like this only goes to waste if you don't create the conditions for the
Yeah,
value expansion to happen, because it certainly will, and it will happen whether you're there to like enjoy it or not, right? um
right. And like
Developing
anything,
partnerships, right?
yeah,
All
that's
of
a
this
good one
stuff is not
too. Like,
easily measured or
right,
traditional measurement.
right. A lot of things that we do poorly or only do when we reach uh, that companies only do when they are reach a certain size actually fit into this framework if you do them well, I guess I would say. um, but like these, the way that I've kind of phrased these when I'm thinking about them is create conditions for this is giving your champions a stage, either equipping them, like you create one, or you help them get on stages, figuratively and literally. We can talk about that in a second. The methodology. This is like uh, this is like co-building in a lot of ways. If like when people when you see somebody doing something amazing with your product or service, right? Or they've developed an implementation or a practice or something within a specific industry or use case, right? Or people are, this happened with Notion. People are like hacking it to create templates when templates didn't exist. It's like, oh, well, we need templates, which became a huge booming ecosystem, right? Um, the community building, that's pretty obvious, right? Like help champions find their people, which also brings in more people, but not in a community that you control. And authentic industry impact is, this is like handing them the microphone, right? Like giving them materials and things that they need to to expand what they're doing, right? And so like the point of like a lot of companies realize they need some high level input and need to draw people closer. So they create a customer advisory board, right? Like really common play. Every big SaaS company has one. A lot of startups call them something else, but they create those as well for, a couple of big logo early stage folks to come in and like help provide direction and fit. And making a customer advisory board, the thing that only like your top 8 customers plus 2 that get cherry picked by the CEO, um, then it's just like, oh, what that actually is like a wine and dine, not like customers advising you, um, and uh, and actually bringing them in and you know working together with them on these things. The wine and dine can be part of it, but if you're doing a customer advisory board well, you are sharing ownership, right, with them. And that's an example of one of the kinds of things that if you're doing it transactionally, that's not value path. If you're doing it well, fits right into the value path, then it would be like, oh, we could do a customer advisory board, and everyone thinks, oh yes, I've heard those are good, right? And then it's a little
And then we
easier to
ask
get approved.
AI, how do those work? Oh,
Yeah.
here's what you do. Like, and like, oh man. Um, yes, it takes resources, but again, this is how AI can close the gap. When you talk about scale, and you can find one champion could do all of this stuff. Like, if they're great at using AI, or if you develop AI tools too, and then you just put them in their hands, right? Like the HubSpot user group program, right, accomplishes all 4 of these bullets,
Mm-hmm.
like by itself. And most of it is creating the space and and for like a continued movement of community, but it's not product specific. Like most user groups for software, like are like user groups, like, hey, what did you do in HubSpot today? And like, how do we get this done? Which like might have been that in like 2018 when it was in person, and you had a lot of HubSpot people showing up to speak. Um, and that's how I like really started to feel the ecosystem at first. But now you have somebody like Casey Hawkins that can just decide to sign up and start a Women of HubSpot hug.
Mm-hmm.
And and like no surprise, it's a popular place to be once a month. And now she's gonna have a meetup, like at I think she's gonna have a meetup at Unbound, where it's like you're just driving all this activity. And um if you try anything, like, and you just have to believe at some point that value is being created on behalf of HubSpot, and without any kind of measurement, without any kind of like the only measurement that you really can get, which is precedent, is how many times is the word HubSpot being mentioned like right now? Like the fact that the Women of HubSpot hug exists, they might not ever say the words HubSpot inside any of those meetings, but it is the Women of HubSpot hug.
Right.
And if it gets airtime, HubSpot gets airtime, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good example of measurement, or of the way that I would argue you approach champion building in that scenario is like, um, is Casey created that hug, and now the onus is on her to create the events, find speakers, or presentations. There's a lot of online hugs, and they um, a lot of this is not about Casey. So many hugs fizzle, right? Or they're like they barely manage to get something out once a quarter. Um, the and it's because this it's not easy. But uh, there's creating the space. The level up version of this of champion building is like is to approach those opportunities like, okay, great, you have a women of HubSpot user group to say like let's boost it, like let's figure out how to enable it, not necessarily to, and this is not I don't know that much about the hug operations, but a lot of user group um, or communities that companies set up like that, they if you get to a certain threshold, then they will be like, oh, we'll send you $50 for drinks or food at your meetups or whatever. But everybody also has to check in, and we have to see, we want to see if that you're getting at least 50 people every session and whatever, right? And then if you're getting 100 people, then they're going to send you a banner or something, right? In the true like value path champion enablement is, oh wow, this user group seems like they're gaining momentum. We are going to showcase them, right? We're going to put it in the newsletter, or we are going to host, we're going to host and promote main site their next meetup session, right? That kind of thing, where you are investing in that champion, trusting that the value comes back at first, right? Eventually, you get some pass through or passive metrics, et cetera, where you can start trying to justify these things, but the that's the real champion angle of like, we're not going to try to report total total user group webinar impressions for the quarter in anybody's KPIs. We're just going to like, oh, hey, this is a hot one, let's dump some fuel on the fire. Why? Because it's a good idea, and we'll figure out if there's any mechanics to it later.
Yeah. And just since we're talking about it,
yes,
it's next week. I love Mel Robbins personally, and like one of the best books I read last year was Let Them, about, and she's speaking at Unbound. So like that's where again, like just this ecosystem that's been created to have like, and you mentioned like not all hugs make it, right? Like, and the work that Casey has to do to get this, she's a champion, so she's willing to do it. I would wager, I guess, that the hugs that don't make it are coming at it from a transactional perspective on their side, right? Hey, this is a new way to get leads, to get exposure, to build opportunities. So I'm going to take advantage of these resources that HubSpot's providing and get me some of that, right?
Yep.
If that's the approach, like, unlikely to work. And again, from the business perspective, if we're the ones trying to execute a value path strategy, you can sense that from a mile away, right? But if you show up in that way, you can be damn sure the only people that are going to take you up on that offer are also coming at it from that perspective. And as soon as everybody gets transactional, no matter how like big and experimental and new and fresh we try to get, if it still comes down to leads in these new formats and these new, like all these words where you're just creating conditions, developing methodology, enabling, recognize, like none of that fits in in all of our, industrial age defaults. So as we see a lot of struggle with AI projects showing value of any kind, like it's hard to point to like more than 5% of any of the old metrics that can apply, because usually you're going to turn down stuff because they don't have reach, they don't have the audience, they're not going to get you the leads. Meanwhile, at the very least, like, how much effort and resources, and sometimes straight just payment to people to get them on video saying great things about your product, that if that's all that comes out of the 30-minute session with the champion that's excited about, you can't, you can't even buy that. Because if you try to buy it, you script it, and we can sense that from a mile away. Like, oh, this is not a customer. This is paid for. It says sponsored right there,
Yep.
right? So at the very least, like, and I could be biased here because I like to create content, but this is the space that, like, it's hard to manufacture humanity. I mean, it's probably impossible now that I say it out loud. And that's the best, and always has been the best, like, marketing, like the difference between true championship and a champion badge, because you bought a lot,
Right.
right?
Yeah. I mean, it's, everybody's so, again, everybody's excited about, you know, uh, what GTM engineering and AI empowered GTM and all that stuff that, I don't know why we added engineering to that, but okay. Um, because nerds want to do it, which that's me. I'm not slagging it, but it's not engineering.
What are you engineering?
The Yeah, um, they're telling Claude to engineer things. But in 2023, what we were all talking about is like word of mouth and dark social, right? Like, oh, people send a link to your website in their LinkedIn DMs, or they, screenshot your post and send it via WhatsApp. And like, oh, we got to figure out how to make those things more frequent. Is there any way we can track that? And that's all like, you know, that's in the champion realm, right? Of that, like, hard to measure, no control over outputs, but you have the most leverage over inputs, right? Um, the That's how you have to approach these things.
Yeah, it's and it's, I'd say, quickly becoming like two sides of the same coin in terms of like a human that will vouch for you,
Right.
right? Um, like, if there's any kind of transaction involved, like, you can smell from a mile away, but also you're just not going to get the passion. So it's like, either you have built and made it easy to become a champion and understand, but then don't not bottle it up, right?
Right. Yeah. And that the control aspect of like, I've seen a ton of, like agencies trying to build out motions where they're like, we get video testimonials for you at like flat rate per, right? And it's like, I don't know how they do it, uh,
Not
but
well.
yeah, I mean, it's like, it's expensive and it's hard. And like people, they are sticking their neck out in a way that they aren't comfortable or haven't done before. And also like, I mean, I like your solution. Do I want to be on your website for the next 5 years? I don't know. Um, Trying to manufacture that and like get video testimonials, that's great. Like you do need that to some degree. Some companies need them more than others, but like, uh, if you get, it's hard to get one of those a quarter, you know, unless you have like, unless it's, you're delivering outstanding experience for 1,000 companies a quarter, right? Then you can get more than one a quarter. But it's a lot of work. Host a hackathon and get a bunch of people in the room, like trying to do something crazy and cool with your system, and give out some awards and hire some people probably, um, and like just like let that community develop and send people in to be catalysts of what's going on, and resources, you know, like uh, that you don't have to just be, you know, a hardware company or SaaS or something for that to work, right? Um, that's uh, that's a whole room full of probably champions, latent champions, who can go out, promote, post about, like, I built this cool thing, you know, I got a blue ribbon, whatever, but that are pushing the community forward, probably developing something great for your company, um, and uh, and like spawning into the ecosystem new implementations, new ideas, new approaches, newly addressable use cases, etc.
Yeah. And like, this is where in most cases, since this is not like widespread and we're helping everybody transform, like you're the one that says, all right, what you're asking to do right now, I love it. It's like, are you looking to lead? Like, why do you like, is it just to help other people? Do you want to build a brand for yourself? Like, are you just like, you just love solving big problems, right? It can help you learn so much about
Yeah.
your offering, like on the whole GTM strategy. Like that's where the engineering happens, is when you start understanding the words that people use about how they feel about your product, and then you start to apply it. And like, that's the kind of flywheel that everybody wants to pay for. But like, the crazy thing is that we value prop things during the sales process. Like, this could help you get a promotion.
Right. Yeah.
And then we
This,
don't
look how
use
much
it.
ROI we have, right? I mean, the if we're lucky, right, we actually hit the mark with those.
Right. But
Yeah,
then when it happens, we don't
we're not
market it. We
there,
don't
right, to
leverage
help.
it
Yeah,
like at all. It's like, yeah, good job, man. Where's the next referral?
right.
Does that mean does that mean you have more buying power and you can buy
We
more
can
product now?
expand, or
Like,
remember me when you go to your next company. Yeah.
right. So this has been a journey, a value path, if you will. Um, and we're gonna keep banging on this drum. More people are starting to understand uh, the value of um, taking this perspective of just humanizing at all costs, understanding that all humans have the capacity to go through all of these stages. And should you choose to do so as a business, you can support them every step of the way. And we talk about multiplying value, adding value, all the different ways that we say that value is important to us. Like, we want to help you get real about that. AI does too, by the way. It is driven by things like that. And you get to define what the value is that you're asking for help with from AI. So we're going to continue talking about the value path. And I guess we'll get back to the folks on what this looks like coming up. Yeah.
Yes, the real question is, how do we prioritize the 100 million things that we could talk about with this?
Indeed. So if
That's
you're
a
out there
question
listening
for us.
and you got some questions and some feedback, we'd love to hear it. But until next time, everybody have a great rest of your Thursday. Thanks, everybody.
Bye bye.